Hello again, everyone. Next up, we have N8N. N8N is an open source and self-hostable workflow automation tool. It supports multiple integrations and for generative AI and provides an easy way to test and evaluate different RAG approaches. So today we are going to hear from Viraj, who heads product at N8N.
Thanks, Megan. Excited to be talking, and especially after those great talks from Arvin, Xander, and Mohak. I think one of the things, especially with Mohak's talk that's coming out, is evaluating LLMs and evaluating different approaches to RAG is super important. And what I'm going to do is maybe share some experiences of how I've seen this sort of play out at N8N. And I guess my talk is titled "Evaluating Approaches to RAG," but I've just scribbled on there since speaking with you, Shen, initially, without much code. And I'll jump into why that's important in a second. But first, maybe for a little introduction. So I work across product and go-to-market at N8N. A lot of my time recently has been doing customer success engineering, and of course, the AI features are a really big part of that. In my spare time, I like using saws, taking them to old computers, and putting over our modern oversized graphics cards into them. So also have a local AI rig running, and that's what we'll be using, this computer pictured here, when we're testing some of the models running locally, which you'll see shortly. And as for N8N, I think Megan covered it, but essentially it's a low-code workflow builder with a trick up its sleeve. And that trick is LangChain. So essentially, N8N provides this graphical interface on top of LangChain, allowing almost anyone who can read some basic documentation to now build agentic and RAG workflows directly from their browser without writing much code, or in some cases any code, if they're lucky. Since we launched these LangChain features, a lot of my job has been speaking with companies about how they want to use AI. And of course, as I mentioned, RAG comes up a lot. In fact, the two main things that I hear when it comes to RAG is, one, I want to chat with PDFs, just something as basic as that. But if we dive in, really they want to chat with technical documents where it's quite time-consuming to go through and extract very specific information. That's a huge use case. And the second is, given how quickly the space is changing, new models are coming out, somebody comes up with a different embedding strategy and so on and so on. People want to evaluate different setups and just check how they perform with the range of prompts that matter to them. So today we're going to build a very simple RAG workflow. Well, I guess maybe not build, we only have 15 minutes, so this would, I'll show you maybe a pre-built version. And then we're going to see how we can use Notion as a front end to basically, try and store different prompts. Now, this is really important, I think, using something like Notion, which is very accessible and easy, because a lot of people that want to use RAG in a business are, they're on the business side. They're not heavyweight engineers. That said, they have a burning need and they're happy to learn. So what they really want is, just a nice front end where you can type different prompts in, see what you get back, and then put a basic evaluation, and then hopefully pass on to the engineer who's building the production version, roughly what model and what prompts they want in the final application. So all that said, our targets within the next sort of 12, 13 minutes, whatever I've got left, is hopefully to have tested a couple of different embeddings models and different prompts. We'll then record the prompt ideas using Notion as a front end, and we'll get back what the models have evaluated those prompts to. And of course, we can do a quick human evaluation in this case, although I'll discuss some ways of scaling that and making it more automated briefly as well. So let's jump in. Hopefully you will now in a second see my my other screen here where we have a workflow up. There we go. So let me first dive in and explain what's going on here. Now, the first part of the workflow is to generate our embeddings. And for that, in this case, I'm using just a really simple travel insurance policy. So not quite a technical PDF, but actually there are lots of really specific things in here that have exact fixed answers that we need to go and find the answer to. Now with N8N, I'm just pulling it down from just a website. So we've got the PDF of the insurance policy and what it covers and what it doesn't. I then chose Quadrant as a vector store. So nothing crazy going on here. We're just inserting documents. So we're going to get this PDF, we're going to chunk it up, and then we're going to put it into Quadrant as vector embeddings. Everything here, by the way, these are just sort of what LangChain enables you to do. It's just a little bit easier having it in this interface. So things like chunk size, overlap, you're free to play with and test. And then plugging in a model is an embeddings model in this case is as simple as just selecting plus here, putting in a cloud model or running something locally, which is what I've used for some of these prompts that we'll test. So once we've got our vector stores created, I've created 3, one using OpenAI prompts, so OpenAI's embedding model, one using one from Cohere, and this other one using Olama running locally with Command R actually not Command R, with MXBy's embedding model, and Command R is the chat model. And essentially what we're doing, so I've also got a Notion database that you'll see very shortly. It contains 5, 6 prompts. We're going to get each of those prompts, just take each one in turn. And you'll see that rather than coding a switch node, it's pretty easy here just to put in a low-code node and say we have this sort of Notion property called embeddings. We can select OpenAI, Cohere, or Olama, and then you can just put that through and it'll route it to the right chain. So each of these chains you see here is for a different different model to be used. Under the hood, the vector store retriever is pretty similar. No settings have changed there. We're just changing the actual sort of quadrant collection based on the embeddings that I showed you earlier, where the embeddings are stored. So with that, let's jump into Notion. And what you'll see here is I've got some basic prompts. So these are all in the left column. I've got 2 of each one because the plan is to test different models. So we've got Olama, or different embeddings in this case. So we've got Olama and OpenAI, Cohere and OpenAI. That way I can put it head to head and see how these models compare. The prompt response will be filled in by the once the automation runs in this column. I've got the correct response to check it against, and I can evaluate each response as nonsense, partially correct, or perfect. Let's jump in, and hopefully this will work. So I'm going to now run this workflow, and what we'll see is n8n will run. Here we go. It hasn't worked. Let's see what's gone wrong here. So we've pulled in everything from Notion. We have got, let's go here. So we've got our embeddings. We've got some that are empty. So I'm going to delete those and hopefully try that again. And this time that should work. So what's causing the issue here? Here we go. It's this thing. Let's just delete this for now. Cool. Now, if we try this again, second time lucky, let's hope. There we go. So we can see that these are executing now. So we've got each of these individual prompts going through and being answered by different models as we've selected here. That, of course, corresponds to what we've selected in this column, Olama, OpenAI, whatever it might be. We can see that we have our first response here from one of the Cohere models, and looks like it has come back with the correct answer. So the question being, is the cost of emergency documents covered, and if so, up to how much? Yes, up to $750. I've checked these myself before, so I can mark that as perfect. Similarly, one of the OpenAI models has come back. So you get how, with this, we can just check if the responses are any good and see how, how the responses are different in each case. One thing to note here, actually, so the Cohere API was giving me some trouble. So actually, this has been answered by OpenAI as well in this case. So let's try and find, this will be a good one to look at, where we can compare the Olama response to the OpenAI response. OpenAI is in with a correct answer already. Let's hope for all the local models here, Olama does a good job as well. In the meantime, we can see this is still running, so it shouldn't take too much longer to get the other responses. It's just taking each question in turn, so that it's not an indication of the speed of the model. It's just showing, it's just whichever one is first in queue. So cool. So I guess this is a response where for winter sports equipment, what value of the items is paid. So 90% of its value, that's correct. It's quite verbose. So what we do here perhaps in real life is maybe fine tune this prompt a little bit more with Olama and Command R under the hood to say, be super concise, only return a number, if that's the kind of thing that we want. Now, just checking for time here. I think I'm kind of okay for time. So what I'm going to do is show you how you can automate this a little bit further. We've got a workflow built out here, but it's a little bit annoying because you've got to hit test and run it manually. Ideally, we would just have this running on its own. So let's have a quick look at how we can modify our workflow and do some hands-on building to see how that would work within n8n. So first of all, I'm going to have this trigger. It's going to run, let's say, every 5 seconds. So we want things picked up quickly. And I'm going to give it a new prompt. So let's say if I take this prompt that we tried with Olama, I'm going to just add this answer concisely, returning only a figure if appropriate. Let's see how, I haven't tested this, by the way, so I'm not sure how well this is going to do with the model, but I'm going to give it a go now and see what happens. So once I set this to active, okay, please let's resolve your issues. Aha, I think we've got some problems here. Let's delete this for now. Save this. Okay, we're now active. So within sort of 5-10 seconds, this should be picked up and we should see an execution where this is running. Another cool thing is, given that this is running locally, you can just sort of see we'll see when, there we go. So we can see Command R is maxing out the VRAM of the graphics card. So we know that it's doing something. And sure enough, we should see the answer updated pretty soon. Let's have a look. Here we go. So we can see a workflow is running. Once it's complete, it should give us an answer. And let's hope that the answer is a bit more concise than this one, but I can't guarantee. There we go. So this is a way in which you can quickly test different prompts. So this obviously is the right answer. We want something just short like this. So this is a way in which someone who is non-technical can now work with prompts and actually, I guess, get models doing exactly what they want to do all this testing and tweaking without having to go through engineering, which is often the bottleneck in any organization. And even for hobbyists, I think, even for those of us playing with local models, playing with cloud models, whatever it might be, it's a super nice and easy, approachable way with which to play with LLMs and build retrieval augmented generation workflows. Finally, maybe one way to look at how you take this forward would be, so currently, I guess I'm evaluating everything manually. So we're putting a grade in of whatever it might be. Got the answer here. I think a really nice automation, especially for working with numerical data, would be just to have a, either generate these answers with another AI model, and then we can be reasonably sure, if they're right, if 2 or 3 models match up. Or if we do know the answers ourselves, we could just have another automation that checks the answer and does the grading automatically. I think I might be ahead of time, but what I'll do there is maybe just take a pause and open up to any questions if anyone has them. And if not, maybe just going back to wrapping up. So, feel free to connect. I've got my LinkedIn QR code there. We've got N8N is you can download it, run it yourself at n8n.io. We also have a cloud version. You can just get a 14-day trial without a credit card, get it started straight away. And of course, our GitHub as well. We're doing a lot more with local AI. So there's a few more features that'll be dropping pretty soon. We tend to release a new version of the product every week. So there's lots going on, especially within the LangChain and AI space for us right now. Thanks, Megan, and thanks, Ishan. I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Viraj, and appreciate you putting the QR code to make it easy to connect with you.